My name is Cabeiri Robinson. I'm an anthropologist, and this year at the Simpson Center for the Humanities, I'm working on a project that I'm calling Fault Lines: Humanitarian Jihad, Humanitarian Business, and the Making of a Post-Conflict Tourist Industry in Northern Pakistan. So in October of 2005, a massive earthquake hit northern Pakistan. Its epicenter was very near to the border of Azad Jammu and Kashmir, which is a provincial area administered by Pakistan, but part of the disputed, a territory of Jammu and Kashmir disputed between India and Pakistan since 1947. So I had worked with displaced peoples and with militant groups in the 1990s in my first research project. And when I went back in 2005, one of the things that really surprised me that I hadn't been expecting was the extent to which these former militants had redeployed themselves as humanitarian workers immediately after the earthquake. They set up the first active field hospital in Muzaffarabad city. They were involved in digging people out of the rubble and in basic activities that we would identify as humanitarian activities, delivering food and water to people trapped alive but trapped in the inner city, and burying the dead as the survivors left, were taken out to hospitals and went south to bring the surviving family members into the cities in Pakistan. These people called what they were doing humanitarian jihad. And I'm not translating that. Like when they would talk to me in an Urdu sentence, they would say, "Hum humanitarian jihad kar rahe hain." We are doing humanitarian jihad. It was actually a phrase that they'd come up with. And the idea there was that their notion of jihad, which is very controversial, but the idea that they were actively fighting to defend the rights of their family members or of people in India and Jammu and Kashmir, that after the earthquake, the service that was required by Kashmiris was of a different kind, that it was no longer the right moment to be carrying weapons, but what you needed to be doing was carrying shovels. A lot of these young men that I've spoken about, they still don't renounce violence, and they've never said they wouldn't go back to fighting an armed conflict. But right now, they're committed to rebuilding this society because they see that as the biggest contribution they can make. That's a very difficult social movement to explain if your understanding of why people fight, for example, in a Muslim society, is reduced to a narrow religious textual understanding of the concept of jihad or of defense of communities. Ideas about Muslim societies and Islamic culture have been essentialized, as if they're not historically located, but they have some kind of universalism. And by bringing together my deep knowledge of this particular Muslim society and this particular context in which people's political and social values are deeply religiously motivated, but also very historical and very self-conscious of the world in which they live, bringing that together with these insights from disaster studies and humanitarian studies, I really want to highlight and show the extent to which people living in Muslim societies are very much dealing with the same kinds of questions about their location in the world as people in non-Muslim societies are engaged in these kind of debates and are involved in actively shaping the communities in which they will live in the future.